Hi, this is Guthrie here today, and I am going to be restringing my Yamaha guitar, and I'm going to be doing something a little bit differently. I found online a kind of a unique trick um, to get rid of bridge pins, and a trick that is supposed to make the sound better. So I'm going to be recording here a sample of what it is going to sound like using my Rode and do a before and after. And so I'm very curious to find out what this is going to sound like. So I'll walk us through as I go. So this deal here is nothing but an Allen key. And I saw the idea on a YouTube video. Somebody was making and selling a special piece of wire, probably made out of some fancy metal. And what they're doing is they're taking out these bridge pins, putting this up underneath, and running it through the holes in the strings. And this is what's holding the strings, and the strings are coming up through these holes. So that's what I'm going to be doing right now. So this is an Allen key. It happens to be the perfect length for the job, and it's such a small size that I never think I'll be using this size. But you never know. I might have to take my guitar apart because I'll need it. So what just happened is, as I was loosening it, the string broke. And that's because I tie my strings on in a very particular way to keep them from sliding. Because apparently Alexa strings tend to slide more than other strings. The guy in the video said I won't be needing these anymore, but I'm going to hang on to them. It's like pulling baby teeth. So here's actually how I tie my strings. When I thread the string through, I push it through and then bring it up underneath, turn the knob so that this string comes up underneath and it holds it there. The only problem with that is sometimes I wind it in the wrong spot, and since I do a lot of alternate tunings, it breaks. But I haven't had one break in a long time, so I must be getting better at it. So the idea is now to get all of the strings lined up on this thing. Ball end, string the beads, and then run the strings up through the holes. And we'll see how that goes. And these are the strings that I'm using. Now to make this, I think, simple, is rather than going in the hole and trying to pull the wire up through, I'm going to push it down simply and then reach in and pull it up and then thread it on. I will only use Alexa strings, and to that guy who gave me this idea from watching his video, I apologize that I'm not going to spend the $10 and buy your product. I might, but I got to figure this out if it's going to actually work myself first, and if I can do it myself, I will. This is what we've got going on here. So now all I have to do is I've run each string through the correct hole, Now I'll be simply reaching in, pulling the strings out and threading them on to my fancy Allen key that is kicking around here somewhere. Okay. 2 strings on so far. Okay. That took me a while, and that was actually quite difficult because I've got a pickup mounted in under the bridge, and there's other cords in there. Since I can't see, it's pretty easy to get them wound up in there and tangled. Believe me. And so I'm not sure. Maybe I'll come up with a better way of doing this, but for now, this is how it works, and we'll see if I find if it's worth it to continue with this method or not. Okay, that actually took some doing. That's very difficult to get them all lined up, especially since I have a tight X-brace behind this bridge, and so now I'm essentially holding it there. Got to figure out with one hand to get a couple strings attached to hold in place. Okay, halfway there. You can see it. Looks lined up right. There's not a lot of options for me to go check in there. Tightened up a couple strings, and hopefully that'll work. If I ever have all my strings off, I always oil my fretboard. I love to have a nice looking fretboard. It is a little bit yucky right now. This is what I use. Any will do, I'm sure. So I'm gonna get this cleaned up quick. Okay, just wipe it with a damp cloth. That's what I did. And I'm not sure, maybe the grease makes the dust stick to it more, but usually that's the acid on your fingers is gonna collect dust there. Okay, so this is simple. Take the lid off, a couple drops on each one. Paper towel. Don't want to leave it wet, but you want to let it soak in just a hair too. Look nice. Proper care, I guess. This is a FG 340, roughly 30-year-old guitar. Okay, so demonstrating my string tie that I learned is put it through, line up the hole on the peg with the direction the string is going, simply thread it underneath, focus, thread it underneath, and then pulling up, give it a couple turns as you're going. You go until it's completely wrapped on. So now I can let go of the string. And that's a string tie. And I don't usually have trouble with it breaking. I don't know. Maybe I'm doing something differently now than I first started. So, and you should only have problems with them breaking if you're doing maybe a lot of alternate tunings, stuff like that. So. Okay, this is what it looks like, and I like the look. I really do. Without the pegs. I did have a problem with lining up some of the beads. When I pulled the strings through finally, a couple of the beads were off center and they were caught and hung up. So then I had to weasel them through, and but that's okay. I'll just play it now. So off the top of my head, I'm not too sure if I do notice a difference, but I do notice a difference, but I'm not. I couldn't tell you if it's necessarily worth the trouble of changing the strings in that way, and I don't know if I happened to break a string, I would have to change the whole set, unfortunately. So that's about all I can say for that. I don't know if it's worth it. You'll have to try it yourself. It's always kind of cool to try different things. So that's why I do it.